So we're back with part 2 talking about Matthew, and this time we're going to talk about chapter 7 through 16, okay? So let's kind of step into it. So chapter 7, we're talking about the two gates, okay? The straight and narrow. So verse 13 says, "Enter ye in the straight gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be that find it, which go in thereat. But straight is the gate, and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it." So, there's going to be, that's kind of it kind of explains itself. You know, the straight and narrow gate is talking about like Jesus's way. There's going to be a few people that find it because not everybody wants to go by what Jesus has to say. But then in the other one, there's going to be there's going to be more that find it because that's kind of like your sin. You're not going to want to give your sin up. Okay. In chapter 8, we see Jesus is healing people, but mostly the centurion's servant gets healed. Okay. Because he asks Jesus why why was he worthy for Jesus to come into his house. In chapter 9, we see the man called Matthew that this book's about, or that wrote this book. God calls him, okay? Jesus calls him to be a disciple. We see that, but he's a tax collector. So we see all that going through. And then we also see in the ending, in like verse 20, that a woman touches his garment and she's healed when she's got a blood disease. So that just proves like having faith in Jesus, all you have to do is touch the hem of his garment at that time. But if you'll just have a little bit of faith in Jesus, like the size of a mustard seed, God can heal you from whatever you're dealing with. Moving on. In chapter 10, we see Jesus sends his 12 disciples, and he names them, and he tells them to go preach, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand, like he had John the Baptist do. In chapter 11, Christ he testifies about John, and he says that there's none other that's better than John, that's greater than John. And the multitudes are concerning about John is the reason Jesus is doing it. So they've got a problem with John, and Jesus is like, look, there's nothing greater than John, other than, of course, Jesus. And in chapter 12, Jesus rebukes the Pharisees, which he's always been doing it. The Sadducees and the Pharisees, they didn't like Jesus to begin with. They always tried to find fault in him. In 13, we see it that he talks about what we sow and reap, what we tear God fixes, and what we grow like leavened bread is good for the soul. So how much do you grow your faith? Then in 14, Jesus talks to his disciples moving from place to place, and then he talks about feeding the 5,000, but it was plus women and children, so it's like 15,000 people, and then you only had 5 loaves and 2 fishes, which turned into like 12 basket loads. In 15, Jesus feeds 4,000 plus women and children, so that's like 12,000 people. And he's still got the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, but he's got all the fragments too, I guess, at that time. And then it's on the coast of Magdala. In chapter 16, it's talking about, who do you say that I am? And Peter says, thou art the Son of God.